What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles where I was able to regain several hundred elo with a Pokemon that was previously very difficult to obtain for the Open Great League, but there is now a timed research available for Android users in certain countries that rewards a Charcadet at the end of the research. Now I believe you only get one, and as it has two evolutions, I would definitely recommend, if you don't have any friends that don't really care about PvP and would be willing to trade you a second one so you can have both evolutions, then Armarouge is definitely the one you want to go for, because it's a lot more unique than Ceruledge. I mean, there are plenty of fire and ghost type Pokemon in the Great League at this point. You've got Skeledirge, Alola Marowak, Chandelure, which actually has the exact same typing, same moveset, and pretty similar stats as well, and even Blacephalon will be available for the Great League very soon, whereas there are only a couple of fire and psychic type Pokemon, which are Victini and Delphox, and I think Armarouge is definitely a lot better than Delphox, and it also has some advantages over Victini too. Now, as for the team, it worked really well for me from the 1800s into the 2100s, but suddenly I started running into a ton of Bastiodon, which is definitely a nightmare for this team to handle. But obviously in a few hours time the leagues will be rotating. Bastiodon, along with 19 other meta threats, will be banned, so this team might actually become even more viable, so I definitely would recommend it for the Remix Cup. But anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What is your favorite fire type Pokemon? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle, we lead Whimsicott into Skarmory. Obviously an awful lead, but I've got an ABB style team with double fire, so definitely gonna say swap into my Salazzle, and I always use Salazzle as a say swap there because it's very quick to make it to Poison Fangs, but also I didn't see too many Mud Boys coming in to punish me. Instead, I saw a lot of Azumarill, and because we got that Poison Fang full coverage, we can grab shields here, and if the opponent commits to a full farm down, I'm gonna grab both shields. But not only that, I've also put them into range where I can actually just come in with my Whimsicott and fully Fairy Wind farm them down. So we are going to no shield the first move. I don't think there's any point in shielding this, just because of course they've still got a Skarmory, but because I've dropped their defense by 3 stages, we get the Fairy Wind farm down, we swap into Armarouge, and they've got Medicham in the bag. So of course Medicham not too common these days, but we completely wall this thing, resisting everything Medicham could possibly throw. So at this point I can see a potential 2 flex coming on, so gonna no shield. They just go for an Ice Punch there, hoping to make it to a second charge move, expecting us to shield, but we go for the Flame Charge, dealing huge damage to the Skarmory. We get the Incinerate farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into the next game we see Lickitung in the lead, so fairly neutral matchup. We probably do just barely lose this matchup here, but with any ABB style team, if you are in a neutral matchup, you probably want to swap out of that matchup at some point, because you kind of need to bait out the potential risks to your backline. So we go for the Moonblast there, dealing big damage, and at this point, because they throw an alignment, I can swap one turn before they make it to a Body Slam, and that allows me to get a full Incinerate in for free as we swap there. Unfortunately, just barely not doing enough damage to get the full Incinerate farm down, so I'm forced to throw a move because I don't really want to shield. We can take them out with a Poison Fang. They come in with a Gligar. I'm not certain that I would make it to a Dragon Pulse, so I settle for the Poison Fang. Of course, they know they can just let that go through, and you can see I actually wouldn't have made it to the Dragon Pulse anyway, so that was the right play, but a bit unfortunate. But we're going to come back in with the Whimsicott. I realize they are debuffed in their defense, so Seed Bomb actually going to do some respectable damage, and at this point I'm just hoping Armarouge can sweep in the end game. So going to come in with it straight away, and they've got a Steelix in the back, so this is looking pretty good. This can only be either a Psychic Fangs or a Breaking Swipe. I didn't want them to drop my defense there and end up shielding a Psychic Fangs, but they go for a Breaking Swipe, and now honestly we're not tanking these Dragon Tails particularly well, but we didn't get debuffed in our attack, so luckily for us I think we can just shield, go for the full Incinerate farm down, and I'm going to come out with near back-to-back Side Shocks. We make it to the back-to-back here, obviously going to go for the first one, grab that final shield, and Side Shock number 2 with or without a boost will be enough damage to take out the Gligar, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into the next game we see Whimsicott into Venusaur, so not great for us, but I can stay in initially, but no, actually never mind. I'm just going to swap straight away into my Salazzle, and the opponent responds with a Skeledirge. Now Skeledirge is a bit of a problematic Pokemon for this team unless we can land a Dragon Pulse there, and especially when opponents used it as a say swap, I did struggle quite a bit, but the opponent's also running double Incinerate in the back. I can go and build up to back-to-back Poison Fangs. This is also a CMP tie with the opponent, so Poison Fang is going to grab a shield, and at this point I think I'm just happy to let Salazzle go down. If I shield here, yes, I can get off a second Poison Fang, but they can also commit to a full Incinerate farm down. But now if the opponent goes for a Flame Charge here, then I can also commit to a full Incinerate farm down, as I have dropped their defense, and we are able to get the perfect farm down there. There was no point throwing. I had back-to-back charge moves. I had 100 energy, but it doesn't matter. Instead, we can now throw a flame charge, boost up the attack, and now we can go for a side shock, and side shock with that attack boost gets the one shot up against the Venusaur, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Azumarill in the lead, so we are going to see a Bastiodon swapping in. So here, unfortunately, we don't really have an answer to Bastiodon. Whimsicott is my best response, just because we don't take super effective damage from those smackdowns, but also it takes more than 4 Seed Bombs to KO a Bastiodon, and that's with the slight buff to Seed Bombs damage this season as well. So that's pretty embarrassing for the Whimsicott, but also very bad for my team. So they're gonna go for a Flamethrower there. I'm hoping that we can catch maybe the second Flamethrower coming from the Bastiodon, but here we're going to go for Seed Bomb number 3, and we go for Seed Bomb number 4. Now we finally got them into the red health range here. Seed Bomb is going to be no shielded, and we are able to swap and make the catch onto my Salazzle, and it is just a Flamethrower, which is very lucky. The opponent could have actually gone for a Stone Edge there because it would have still KO'd the Whimsicott, but we can now go for a Poison Fang into the Azumarill coming back in. But unfortunately, since we are down on energy, I can make it to a second Poison Fang, grab a shield from the opponent, but it's not going to help particularly much because they can just go for a bubble farm down, and as well, it's very likely that they're running Ice Beam, and even if they're not, it doesn't really matter. Play Rough would take out our Whimsicott, so we're going to come in with the Armarouge, just assume they're not running Hydro Pump, but it is a Hydro Pump that easily takes us out, and they've got Skarmory in the back, also running Air Slash as well, which is not ideal, but it doesn't really matter there. Skarmory would take us out anyways, and unfortunately we do lose that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see a Skeledirge in the lead. We're going to go for 2 Fairy Winds there and then swap into Salazzle because I realize I'll still get an extra Incinerate in as they throw, as they'd end up throwing on alignment there, and that's fine with me. We're now going to go for a Poison Fang, and I can't really tell if the opponent just didn't get the fast move through there or what happened there, but I'm definitely not going to complain about it. We can go for another Poison Fang. Poison Fang is going to drop their defense. We make it to another Poison Fang, and that's what I love about Salazzle, just so incredibly spammy here. And even though they've got a water type, we've got them deep into the red health range before they throw a charge move. Now, we are of course going to come in with the Whimsicott, and we're just going to commit to a full Fairy Wind farm down. We can tank whatever they throw, no problem whatsoever. They go for a Surf, not going to do much damage. We are now going to see the Skeledirge coming back in, so we're going straight for the Moonblast, well, throwing after 2 Fairy Winds, as that is good timing. That does big damage there. We're now going to swap into our Armarouge, and at this point, I wasn't certain if I made the catch there, so I shield, I play it safe, and they actually full sent the Shadow Ball. So very good news for me. We can now go for a Side Shock, and this should be game over. Side Shock, gonna grab the final shield from the opponent. They can full send a Shadow Ball, but it doesn't really matter. Whimsicott has residual energy. All I've got to do here is make it to back-to-back Seed Bombs, and from this range, Seed Bomb will be enough damage to take out Annihilate, and of course, we can throw the second one straight away into the Skeledirge coming back in, and Seed Bomb, despite being resisted, takes out the Skeledirge from as few HP, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see a Charm Ninetales in the lead. So we're going to say swap into Salazzle, and we're met with a Tentacruel. Now this actually is not that bad of a matchup, especially if I can land the Dragon Pulse straight away. So we're full sending it, and Dragon Pulse does connect, and the opponent also throws straight away. So we get a full Incinerate in for free. They are going to Acid Spray debuff me, but it doesn't matter. We're still resisting the Poison Jab damage, and we get a full Incinerate farm down. Now I play it safe. I go for the Poison Fang here, but since we are debuffed, I don't think I'll be able to go for one extra Incinerate and go for a Dragon Pulse there, so instead we go for back-to-back Poison Fangs. But either way, I think this game is over. We can come in with the Whimsicott, the opponent swaps into Ninetales, but once again Armarouge is going to fully wall the moveset from this Alolan Ninetales. I can safely, no shield, they go for a Side Shock, and this is going to be game over. I could go for the Side Shock straight away. The opponent actually ends up no shielding, so I definitely should have done, but I go for the boost there just because I figured if they do start shielding, we can probably just Incinerate farm them down. But GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Annihilate in the lead this time around. Now, we've technically got 3 Pokemon that have decent matchups into Annihilate, but I'm going to go straight for the Moonblast here, throwing before they make it to a Shadow Ball, and the opponent is going to shield now. Moonblast does have a chance to drop the opponent's attack. I believe it is only 10%, and I don't think I got a single Moonblast debuff whilst running my Whimsicott, but it doesn't really matter. A lot of the time, it's not going to make a difference. We go for a second Moonblast, and at this point, I probably should have just started going for Seed Bombs, but either way, I'm going to shield. The opponent baits with a Night Sash this time around, but I just want to get rid of this Annihilate, so we're going to go straight for the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb gets the KO, but they've got a Shadow Gligar in the back, and I've realized this is just game over now. We've got no shields remaining. Dig will be one-shotting my backline. I think my only potential win condition there was swapping out straight away into my Salazzle and making it to a Poison Fang on like a CMP tie with a Dig, and then somehow landing a Seed Bomb when they were debuffed in their defense. But unfortunately, now we come in with the Armarouge. They can just go for a second Dig. Dig will be one-shotting the Armarouge, and they can just wing attack, farm me down to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. I definitely misplayed that, but into the next battle, we're going to see a Greninja in the lead. So Whimsicott, very good lead here. They're going to safe swap into their own Salazzle, and this is where you're going to see Salazzle is such a good safe swap if you don't have a hard response, because there's just nothing I can do here. I could have brought in my own Salazzle, but behind on energy, that's still not a particularly good idea. So instead, we're going to shield once, go for the side shock, and at this point, I can't afford to double shield because they can probably just incinerate farm me down at that point. So instead, we're now going to wait out the switch clock. We have lost switch advantage, but we're going to come in with our own Salazzle, and they're actually just going to throw straight away. So I'm going to no-shield this. It will be a Poison Fang. It's going to hurt a fair bit, actually, and they swap back into Greninja, but that's fine with me. We can come in with the Whimsicott. I wasn't going to throw straight away here, but the opponent overfarms, probably forcing me to throw there. They probably wanted me to throw straight away, and now they're going to come back in with Salazzle, but I can shield this. Of course, Poison Fang definitely one-shots us. We are double weak to poison, but now we can get the Fairy Wind farm down, and they've got Gallade in the back, so there's no point baiting here. I've already got a Dragon Pulse loaded on Salazzle, and Moonblast gets the one-shot, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Shadow Dragonair in the lead. So very good lead matchup for us. And the opponent's going to swap into Bastiodon. And again, I don't really have much play here. I can go for like 4 Seed Bombs, but it's still not quite going to get the KO here. So last time I was able to catch a Flamethrower, so I might try and do the same. I probably will try and do the same. But you can see these Seed Bombs, they just don't do much damage at all. I think this Bastiodon might be even slightly bulkier than the previous one. As you can see, they are still very much in the green health range before we make it to Seed Bomb number 3. Seed Bomb number 3 will be coming through, and we are going to make it to yet another Seed Bomb. Now, they are technically at the Flamethrower already, so I could try and swap now, but I figured they might go for one extra Smackdown first before throwing, and unfortunately, I was incorrect, so at this point, I can't double shield. We can come in with Salazzle, and we can come out with a Poison Fang already loaded, but because the opponent played it quite smart, they actually stayed in with their Shadow Dragonair just for a split second in that lead matchup there. They're now able to outpace me to a charge move, so I have to shield this up. I have to go for Poison Fang, and I have to just hope that the opponent, for whatever reason, no shields, but they are going to shield. Now, Armarouge is going to take 3 Incinerators to make it to a charge move. They very easily outpace us here, going for the Alka-Cell, getting the KO, and they can just Dragon Breath, farm down the Salazzle to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Internet's going to see Charger Bug in the lead. So this is sort of okay for us, but I've obviously got 2 fire types in the back, but I'm able to make a very nice catch there, catching a double resisted X-Scissor onto my Salazzle and also getting the Incinerate through because I did wait 1 turn. And now we're going to see Azumarill coming in once again, trying to hard punish us, but they're going to shield the Poison Fang there, which is okay with me. They're going to go for an Ice Beam. Unfortunately, that does KO there, but there's no point really shielding at that point. We can now come in with the Whimsicott. We've already got a Seed Bomb loaded, so I'm going to farm up to near back-to-back Seed Bombs, but unfortunately, even with a debuff to their defense, with that Poison Fang damage, or with that Poison Fang debuff, sorry, a single Seed Bomb doesn't get the KO, so I have to throw a second one here, which will take them out, and now we're going to swap into our Armarouge, and the opponent kind of just reactionary also swaps into their Charge Bug. I'm going to shield this because unfortunately X-Scissor is going to be neutral damage up against a Fire and Psychic type Pokemon, but at this point we've got such a significant energy advantage. We can go for the Side Shock, and at this point I'm now going to go for Flame Charges because I might as well boost up my attack. They are going to go and shield that up, but at this point also I'm thinking, you know what, Whimsicott can just come in and go for a Moonblast to get the KO there. I think that is probably the safe play, so we are definitely just going to shield this up. The opponent goes for Disarming Voice. We go for 2 extra Fairy Winds, and for the second time I think in these battles, Whimsicott will be taking out a Skeledirge with that Moonblast, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Internet's going to see Azumarill in the lead. So great lead for the Whimsicott, although it's actually not super comfortable because Ice Beam's going to do quite a lot of damage, and we definitely will need 2 Seed Bombs to get the KO. So we go for the first one there. I'm going to shield the first one probably just because if they're staying in with Azu, maybe they... Excuse me there, don't know why I'm burping. Maybe they are weak to Whimsicott in the back, and especially now that they're starting to shield, I'm actually just going to go for the third Seed Bomb on the CMP tie. A bit risky as it is quite an easy catch, but the opponent is going to double shield. So at this point, I will actually just no shield this. I realize that even with a pretty low health Whimsicott, we might be able to beat whatever's in the back, but actually, this is going to look pretty dicey right now. But either way, Seed Bomb gets the KO. We are going to swap into our Salazzle, and the opponent comes in with a Wall Rain. Now, they're just going to go for an Icicle Spear, so I'm definitely going to no shield, as Icicle Spear is resisted damage, but they've actually got a triple water team with Swampert as the third pick. So we go for the Dragon Pulse, dealing big damage, but then go for a huge Mud Shot farm down. I think my play here is just to come in with the Whimsicott and either force them to throw pretty much straight away, or I would be able to make it to a Seed Bomb. So now, I think at this point, even if they throw at perfect timing up against my Armarouge, which they do, they are now 5 away from the next Hydro Cannon, so Armarouge can just go for a full Incinerate farm down, and that Wall Rain certainly is not making it to an Earthquake. So gonna go for the Flame Charge. I believe Psyshock does do slightly more damage, but it doesn't really matter, as we can now boost up our attack. They are gonna go for an Icicle Spear, and you can see that Armarouge is pretty glassy, but we tank it. We can just go for the extra Incinerate, as there's no point wasting time going for a charge move there, and I'm able to take out the Wall Rain to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game, we see Altaria in the lead, and the opponent's going to Safe Swap into a Skeledirge. Now, Skeledirge Safe Swap is very tricky for us, but we can go for a Poison Fang straight away, and I recognize they're definitely not going to shield that, but I don't want them to. I want them to no shield, because now I can guarantee alignment, because first of all, I want to throw before they make it to their first charge move, but also, now because we dropped their defense, it's much easier to go for the Incinerate farm down. We are going to grab a shield as well, so it's not that bad for us. They're going to go for a Crunch. Unfortunately, they do drop my defense though, and that is going to mean that we don't make it to a Dragon Pulse, and that is actually quite painful for us. But we can come in with the Whimsicott, go straight for the Moonblast, hoping to get a debuff, but I've already spoiled it for us. I don't get any debuffs with the Moonblast in these battles. They go for a Sky Attack. We do hang on, which is okay. I'm predicting they're probably very weak to Whimsicott in the back, so I'm going to overfarm quite a lot here. And let's see, we go for the Moonblast. Moonblast gets the KO. They come in with a Lantern, and that is a huge mistake from me. I realized because of the Spark nerf, Surf is not going to be enough damage to KO, but what it will do is allow them to get the perfect Spark farm down to come out with pretty much another charge move loaded. So what I should have done is banked a charge move and then swapped into my Armarouge, because now unfortunately we just barely miss out on making it to a Seed Bomb, and from this range a Surf easily takes out the Whimsicott, and we do end up losing that game. But GG's to the opponent there, and now let's see if we can get some redemption as we lead into another Altaria. And that's another thing I will say, I did get very well fortunate with my leads with my Whimsicott, but also Whimsicott just seems to be a very good core breaker to a lot of teams right now, so definitely run it if you have one, especially with the Seed Bomb getting a slight buff this season. I was about to say buff, but then ended up like mixing it with nerf. But either way, gonna go for another Moonblast, grab a shield from the Altaria. Actually, we did get the attack drop there, so never mind what I said about the Moonblast debuff there. I was chatting complete BS, but anyways, the opponent gonna make a very nice catch, catching a resisted Moonblast onto Registeel. So what we're going to do is bank a Moonblast, then come in with my Armarouge. I'm just going to have to tank this, and the opponent actually is running Flash Cannon, so probably running Flash Cannon and Focus Blast as the two charge moves. So here, they are actually going to be able to make it to another charge move. If I try to commit to the full farm down, they've got Whiscash in the back. So you can see Whimsicott was core breaking both the Whiscash and the Altaria, and the opponent's going to make a very nice catch once again, catching the Psyshock onto the Altaria, but actually that nearly KOs. We get the Incinerate farm down, and that's going to be game over, as we already had a charge move loaded on my Whimsicott, so we can go for that Seed Bomb straight away. We don't even have to reveal the third Pokemon. Whimsicott taking out the Whiscash, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there, some very nice catches, but unfortunately my team just kind of hard countered theirs. But into the next battle, we're going to see another opponent Safe Swapping into Skeledirge. So once again, coming in with Salazzle, and once again going for that Poison Fang, knowing that they're not going to shield it. And this time here, what I should have done is gone for the extra Incinerate. I figured, oh, I can maybe grab that shield straight away, but no, the opponent's actually going to no-shield that. And because I didn't go for the extra Incinerate, I still have to shield, but I'm going to have to double shield as they bait with Disarming Voice, which means this could be a Shadow Ball. I'm now going to shield, but now we're down 2 shields. Things aren't looking too good for us. I'm going to go for a Poison Fang here. Excuse me again, I don't know why I'm burping so much, but Poison Fang does at least grab a shield, but they've got a second Ghost and Fire type Pokemon in the back, and unfortunately there's not a lot we can do, especially down a shield, so Shadow Bone gets the KO, and I'm just going to concede the match there. So GG's to opponent there. Into the next game we see Whimsicott into Talonflame. So not great for us. I'm definitely going to be safe swapping into my Salazzle, but I'll go for one extra Fairy Wind first, and the opponent's going to come in with a Lantern. Now this is a matchup where we can flip this if we really want to, but also we don't necessarily want to be down 2 shields because Armarouge isn't really going to be able to tank a Fly, and especially it won't be able to tank a Brave Bird. So going to go for Poison Fang number 2. Poison Fang is going to grab a shield from the Lantern, and I'm actually able to make it to Poison Fang number 3, and this should be grabbing both shields or flipping switch advantage, and at this point I'm pretty happy with that. So gonna no shield, Surf will be taking us out there. As I mentioned, don't want to be all shields down with my Armarouge, so now we can come in with the Whimsicott. We're going to commit to a full farm down. Actually, I think I will swap straight away here to get an Incinerate advantage, but they also swap into their Talonflame, and unfortunately they get a 0-turn swap, whereas we get a 1-turn swap, so we're not able to get the Incinerate through, but we can at least make it to a Psyshock. Psyshock will not be enough damage to get the KO, and if we got the extra Incinerate through there, we could actually just go and Fairy Wind farm them down, but I don't want to take any damage on my Whimsicott, so we go for one Fairy Wind, we go for the Seed Bomb gets the KO, and they've got Annihilate in the back, so we can just go straight for a Moonblast. Moonblast will be enough damage to one-shot the Annihilate, and at this point the opponent's just going to concede the match as there's nothing they can do, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game we see Gligar in the lead, so not great for us. I'm actually going to safe swap into my Salazzle, which does not have a good matchup, and then the opponent's going to make a very nice catch, catching a triple resisted Poison Fang onto their Bastiodon, and honestly there's literally nothing I can do here, so I'm just going to concede the match straight away. Like, there's no point playing that out. The Bastiodon just comes up with too much energy, and yeah. But anyways, GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we're going to swap into our Salazzle as we see a Wigglytuff in the lead, and unfortunately met with a Water Gun Lantern. So this is obviously a lot worse for us because they can just go for a full Water Gun farm down, but I'm going to commit to the Dragon Pulse, and we do get there in time, and Dragon Pulse is going to take out the Lantern, so we flip switch advantage. We can now just come in with the Armarouge, and here I'm thinking we might get there on the CMP tie, so I throw straight away. I think I did mention already, Psyshock does slightly more damage, I believe, and Flame Charge, you can see, doesn't quite KO, but I think even a Psyshock probably wouldn't quite take them out either, or it would have been close, but either way, it doesn't really matter. They also go for Disarming Voice, which is kind of strange. Usually Wigglytuff is just going to go for an Icy Wind, but either way, we go for a Psyshock, and the opponent throws on CMP, so perfect for me. I can just no shield, and once again, I think I'm seeing an opportunity where I can 2-shield flex on the opponent, as the opponent isn't even going to farm to a potential Ice Punch or a Shadow Ball or anything like that. They just go for the Night Sash, so all I'm going to do is farm 2 back-to-back Seed Bombs. The first one will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. The second Seed Bomb will of course be enough damage to take out the Annihilate, and then the Wigglytuff is in range where we can Fairy Wind, farm them down to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into the next game we see Goodra in the lead, so this is a very good matchup. Unless they're running Sludge Wave, we are just going to resist everything they can possibly throw, so definitely gonna no shield. They go for an Aqua Tail, doesn't do much damage. I'm going to farm to near 100 energy and then go for a Moonblast. Moonblast gets the KO, and they come in with a Typhlosion, so we're going to swap into Salazzle here, and we're able to go for a Poison Fang on the CMP tie, it looks like, and also winning CMP. So they're going to no shield that, fine with me. I'm also going to no shield, and the fact they're staying in here implies they probably don't have a great response to fire types. They're possibly also running double fire here, so we are just going to let Salazzle go down. We're going to come in with the Armarouge. We're not quite able to get the Incinerate farm down, but I'm definitely going to shield this up here as they go for a Blast Burn, and the opponent's got Hisuian Electrode in the back, so they're just going to concede the match. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game we see Bastiodon in the lead, so unfortunately, well, previously this would be pretty easy to read that it's just going to be Bastiodon, Wigglytuff, and Shadow Victreebel. And as much as we complain about that team, if you saw a Bastiodon in the lead, it was pretty much always going to be that. So you kind of knew what you had to do there if you did see a Bastion in the lead, whereas now, unfortunately, I haven't seen that team for quite a while, but I have seen a lot of Bastion leads. It's just really hard to read what they're going to have in the back, so it's kind of hard to tell what I should do here. Should I be swapping, trying to make a catch on the flamethrower like I have done previously? And hey, we're going to go for it. Hopefully this is the flamethrower, and it is the flamethrower, but we're going to see a Whiscash in the back, so I definitely did need to bait out the Whiscash, but we're not in a great position. Luckily for me though, they are going to shield a Dragon Pulse, which is quite nice because we do have a Seed Bomb already banked, but this Whiscash has a ton of loaded energy, so going to go for that Seed Bomb straight away. Seed Bomb coming through, grabs the final shield from the opponent, and at this point I kind of just have to no-shield this, and the opponent goes for a Mud Bomb, so I'm actually going to make it to a Seed Bomb here. So I'm going to shield this, but I do worry that the opponent will just swap back into Bastion, and they do exactly that. And unfortunately, we take too much damage from that Smackdown, so I don't think Whimsicott will be making it to a charge move up against the Whiscash. We can go for a Side Shock here, but Side Shock will not be enough damage to get the KO. Not even close, and the opponent is going to overfarm here, going for a Mud Bomb. And like I mentioned, Whimsicott should be going down to just a single mud shot there, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we can see Whimsicott into Vigoroth. So this is fine with us. Once again, fairly neutral lead. So once again, I will eventually swap out of this matchup. They're going to go for a Rock Slide there, which doesn't really make an awful lot of sense unless they were predicting that I was going to try and swap and catch a move there, which doesn't really make an awful lot of sense. But either way, we can now just swap into Salazzle, go for the full Incinerate farm down, and once again met with a Lantern, which isn't really that big of a problem, as we can go for these Poison Fangs, debuffing their defense, go for a second Poison Fang straight away before they even make it to a Surf, and we end up grabbing a shield. Now at this point, I'm actually going to shield this here. This might be a mistake, but I'm going to shield, and they've got a Skeledirge in the back. So yeah, I think that probably was a mistake there, as otherwise, of course, I could just align my Armarouge with a shield advantage up against the Skeledirge. But either way, I'm able to swap, get a 0-turn swap, and that is very helpful. They full send the Shadow Ball, which actually means I can overfarm by 1 extra Incinerate, go for the Side Shock here, and Side Shock from this range gets the KO. They come back in with the Lantern, or we can just go for another Side Shock, and from this range, it will also take out the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see Whimsicott into Lantern, so very good lead matchup for us. The opponent's going to say swap into Toxapex, and unfortunately, whilst this is a Pokemon that I really didn't see very often, it is a bit of a core breaker. Armarouge, yes, does have coverage for that for the Toxapex in Psyshock, and Salazzle does resist the Poison Jab damage, but it's still a very tricky Pokemon to deal with. So I shield the first Brine. We're now going to go for back-to-back Psyshocks there. I possibly could have gone for Flame Charge first there. Obviously, that would then boost my attack and mean Psyshock might actually KO, but unfortunately now a single Psyshock didn't get the KO here, so we can go for another Psyshock. This should be grabbing the final shield, assuming they want to fight for switch advantage, which they are going to do. But yeah, unfortunately we will lose this matchup. If I did go for the Flame Charge there, obviously I could have maintained alignment, but we're going to come in with Salazzle. I know they've got the Lantern there, so we've already seen double water. It might be triple water, so maybe we'll be okay, as we've got Whimsicott in the back. But we're going to go for back-to-back Poison Fangs here, and then swap into my Whimsicott. So hopefully Whimsicott can beat whatever's in the back, and the opponent's going to have a Charge Bug in the back. So we're going to go for the Moonblast just before they make it to an X-Scissor, and of course we are resisting the Volt Switch damage, so this isn't that bad of a matchup, but it just depends, can we take them out with a Seed Bomb here? So we're seeing, I don't think this is going to KO, so actually I choose to undercharge this, but this is also a mistake. I should have either just not bothered throwing the charge move at all, or just committed and hope that it KOs, because now unfortunately we only get one Incinerate in for free, and that means that this Lantern can just throw a Surf straight away. I did actually check this, and by the way, Poison Fang does about 25% of their health, so I actually don't think I quite would have taken out the Lantern there. But either way, GG's to that opponent. Into next battle, I think the final battle of this video. We're leading into a Magnezone, and we're able to swap, but also get a full Incinerate in, as the opponent full sends a Wild Charge, which means they drop their defense by 2 stages, and that Incinerate that snuck through did huge damage up against the Magnezone. And as well, we've got a slight energy advantage into the Mandibuzz coming in, so we can go for back-to-back Poison Fangs. The second one is going to drop their defense by 2 stages now, and as well, I can just no shield. They go for the Dark Pulse, so they commit to it. If they went for Aerial Ace there, honestly, that probably would have just put me into Snarl Farm down range, which would have been much worse. But we can come in with the Whimsicott. I'm going to throw just as they're making an Aerial Ace. Moonblast is going to grab the shield, and at this point, I'm I'm actually just happy to let this go through. Aerial Ace is super effective, but it doesn't do that much damage, and because I've dropped their defense by 2 stages, Seed Bomb definitely going to KO from this range, so we will throw it here, and the opponent is going to go for the Magnet Bomb, I believe this is, so I'm just going to no shield, oh sorry, Mirror Shot even, which is even worse for them. And now we can just go for a Side Shock here. I think they did drop my attack, but it doesn't really matter. Side Shock still does big damage up against the Poliwrath. At this point, I realized they probably just weren't going to throw a Charge Move, but I go for a Flame Charge here. Flame Charge gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.